In this Podslice summary of the Huberman Lab podcast, Dr. Andrew Huberman uses this episode to delve into mood and mental health, drawing upon tools and research discussed in previous episodes, some with guests. He emphasizes the cost-free, practical applications from these discussions that can greatly enhance our lives. Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett, a highly regarded psychologist and neuroscientist focused on mood and emotion, had previously offered up several beneficial tools. Dr. Huberman also revisits the 4-episode series on mental health co-hosted with psychiatrist Dr. Paul Katie. This series discussed deep ideas about the self, the unconscious and conscious mind, providing practical tools for self-understanding and self-improvement both in a therapeutic context and individually. It also addressed strategies for improving relationships and self-care principles. Dr. Huberman furthermore talks about recent research, particularly studies related to the importance of exposure to natural light and darkness. He regularly emphasizes the relevance of viewing morning and afternoon sunlight, or bright artificial light in its absence. He cites one recent study published in Nature Mental Health, which focused on the mental health benefits of consistent day-long light exposure and spending 8 hours every night in darkness. This study correlated both the light and darkness exposure to improved mental health outcomes. The podcast underscores the big 6 pillars of health, which Dr. Huberman believes are foundational to mental and physical health, as well as performance. These can be broken down into sleep, exposure to light and darkness, movement, nutrition, social connection, and stress control. Each factor plays a vital role in regulating our biology, including neurotransmitter and hormone production and the function of our autonomic nervous system. Operating in the background, this system dictates our sleep-wake cycles and how we react to stimuli, among other processes. Again, Dr. Huberman emphasizes that these 6 pillars, while necessary to manage and improve mood and mental health, are not sufficient in isolation. They must be complemented with further mindful practices that will be further discussed in the podcast's ongoing conversation about mood and mental health. As part of the podcast, Huberman mentions various sponsors, such as Plunge, Waking Up and 8 Sleep, companies whose services product align closely to the topics discussed, including deliberate cold exposure and sleep. In his recent podcast, Dr. Andrew Huberman delves deep into the importance of sleep, bright light exposure, and darkness for mood and mental health. He contends that maintaining a high-quality sleep regime is akin to maintaining physical fitness. It has to be pursued consistently. Striving for a regular sleep routine, going to sleep and waking up around similarly scheduled times, plays a pivotal role in mood regulation and overall mental health. Huberman further highlights how exposure to bright light is integral to establishing and regulating our circadian clock, which in turn impacts mood and focus. This process doesn't work through windows as they filter the required wavelengths of light. He also states that continuous exposure to dim or dark environments for 8 hours daily is correlated with improved mental health outcomes, a fact recently documented in a study published in Nature Mental Health. Additionally, Huberman adds that regular exposure to morning and afternoon sunlight, direct or indirect, impacts mood, focus, alertness, and sleep positively. For those unable to get proper sunlight exposure, bright artificial light sources such as SAD, seasonal affective disorder lamps, act as a potential alternative. Lastly, he argues that corrective eyewear is fine during light exposure, but the viewing process does not work through a window or windshield. Furthermore, there's no need to sow discomfort by directly gazing at the sun. Instead, safely adjusting the gaze to receive sunlight indirectly is recommended. In the second segment of his podcast, Dr. Huberman dives deeper into discussing the key factors influencing mood and mental health. Building on the role of a structured sleep routine and sunlight exposure, he introduces important concepts about movement, nutrition, social interactions, and stress control. When it comes to physical activity, Huberman underlines that individuals should aim to achieve 180 to 220 minutes of moderate intensity cardio weekly. Activities like running, cycling, or swimming that increase heart rate are highly impactful. Resistance training also plays a vital role in this health regimen, with at least 1 full day of rest included in the weekly schedule. According to research, both cardiovascular and resistance training significantly enhance mood and mental health. As for nutrition, the focus should be on eating high-quality, unprocessed or minimally processed foods that offer the appropriate nutritional content. This includes macronutrients, proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, and micronutrients. Andrew asserts that there is no one-size-fits-all nutritional program for everyone, but it's essential to ensure you consume enough quality calories to support your overall health and mental well-being. Extended to social interactions, Dr. Huberman speaks about the concept of social savings, emphasizing the need to recognize and mitigate stressful social interactions that leave us feeling taxed. However, this doesn't mean excluding people from our lives entirely. Instead, we should strive towards engaging more with people and groups that provide us with energy and a sense of well-being. Finally, Andrew addresses the issue of stress control. He explains that while some stress is necessary for us to perform better in certain circumstances, chronic stress negatively impacts our health. By understanding how to approach stressful situations and harness their potential, we can enhance our mood and mental health. In a nutshell, Huberman outlines movement, nutrition, social interactions, and stress control as major pillars vital for maintaining mental health. Understanding and adapting these pillars to suit our individual needs can lead to significant improvements in mood and overall well-being. In this segment of the podcast, Dr. Huberman discusses extensively about how the human body naturally reacts to stress and explores 2 stress management tools that everyone can apply in real time. He first introduces the concept of the physiological sigh, a breathing method that restores carbon dioxide and oxygen levels to their correct ratios, helping us restore calmness. The method involves a big inhale through the nose, an additional brief inhalation before exhalation, and then a long, extended exhale through the mouth. This pattern of breathing is not breath work, but a tool that significantly reduces stress levels and enhances overall mood and mental health. He further emphasizes the importance of handling stress for improved mood and mental health. Huberman introduces the second tool to manage stress, deliberately increasing our stress threshold. This can be achieved by self-inducing increases in adrenaline and noradrenaline and learning to stay calm in these heightened states. He suggests cold showers as a practical method to raise adrenaline levels and practice this skill. The goal is to master control over breathing and retain calmness during stressful situations. Highlighting the impact of controlling stress, he emphasizes that stress management tools can significantly improve our mood, mental health, and our perception of control over our internal state and life generally. Furthermore, he introduces the concept of stress inoculation, practicing exposure to stressors safely, thereby helping us become more resilient when unpredictable stressors hit in real life. Moreover, Huberman introduces the idea of the brain and nervous system as the regulator of a brain-body budget, as described by Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett. He explains that the brain's primary task is generating predictions about future situations and preparations needed for those situations. He describes affect as a state that includes levels of autonomic arousal, hormones, transmitters, and more, creating a backdrop for certain emotions to surface. The right affect makes positive emotions more probable, providing a baseline for maintaining good mental health. In this part of the podcast, Dr. Huberman delves into the exploration of emotions as a significant aspect of managing stress and promoting mental health. He introduces the 6 core pillars of mental health as the basis for creating a healthy brain and nervous system environment that can predict what will happen next, enhancing emotional regulation. Further, he talks about a concept termed emotional granularity, a term credited to Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett. This process entails attaching more precise labels to one's internal emotions, which has notably been linked to better feelings of overall well-being and a key component of mood and mental health enhancement. Additionally, Dr. Huberman shifts to the discussion of drug use for mood and mental health improvement. He details how prescription drugs like selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, SSRIs, and atypical antidepressants target specific neuromodulator systems in the brain and body. While these drugs may not be necessary for everyone, they can significantly increase neuroplasticity, meaning they provide the brain the ability to rewire itself, making them a complementary tool in talk therapies. Moreover, he talks about nutrition-backed and supplement-based approaches to enhancing these neuromodulators. For instance, certain people have turned to daily supplementation with tyrosine, an amino acid precursor to dopamine. However, he notes that these approaches do not share the same potency as prescription antidepressants. Dr. Huberman emphasizes that these drugs and supplementary approaches should not replace the core 6 pillars of mental health. They are complementary. The goal is for individuals with guidance from healthcare professionals to be able to engage in these 6 core pillars on a daily basis, potentially reducing or eliminating their dependence on drug therapy. Lastly, he addresses the growing interest in psychedelics for mental health treatment like psilocybin, a serotonin-like compound. He points out the current debates surrounding the usage of interventions such as these, their side effect profiles, and any justifications of their usage. Dr. Huberman emphasizes the significance of emotional granularity not only in our personal experiences but for our well-being. By examining our emotions and giving detailed labels to what we are feeling, we are enhancing our overall state of mental health. This trait is not limited to merely having a vocabulary for our emotions. It requires consciously spending moments throughout the day assessing our emotional state, moving beyond broad labels like good or bad, and focusing on more precise feelings like curiosity or anticipation. The shift in focus to this more nuanced understanding can be beneficial for us. It trains our brain to draw out more details about our emotional state, which correlates with improved physiological metrics that reveal improvements in our mood and mental health, including respiratory sinus, arrhythmia, and heart rate variability. Heart rate variability, measure of the time between heartbeats, is linked with positive physical and mental health outcomes. And one of the ways to enhance heart rate variability is regular exercise, quality sleep, and an interesting breathing exercise known as respiratory sinus arrhythmia. This exercise involves consciously inhaling to speed up one's heart rate and exhaling to slow it down, which is mediated by the vagus nerve. As a matter of fact, Dr. Huberman illustrates a study where a certain pattern of breathing, dubbed as cyclic physiological sighing, was engaged in for just 5 minutes per day and resulted in pervasive improvements in mood and mental health. Also, this improved various physiological metrics related to sleep and heart rate variability. Moreover, Dr. Huberman highlights a 2017 review published in the journal Biological Psychology, which confirms this relationship between our ability to regulate our heart rate via our breathing and reflecting on our emotional states with improved mood and mental health. This result wasn't only during the moments of practice, but was seen as an overall elevation in mood and mental health. Finally, Dr. Huberman refers to the 4-episode guest series with Dr. Paul Conti, a psychiatrist with expertise in trauma. The guests discussed gaining a better understanding of oneself, as well as tools for creating better relationships. The model of the mind and the iceberg model were drawn out as methods to create everything from feelings, thoughts to behaviors that help in understanding self and bettering relationships. In the segment of the podcast, Dr. Andrew Huberman discusses the power of unconsciousness and the role it plays in shaping our feelings, thoughts, and behaviors. Emphasizing on the iceberg model, he says that the majority of our mental processing takes place in the realm of unconsciousness, while our conscious awareness makes up a tiny part above the surface. Some of the tools that Dr. Huberman delves into to make sense of and leverage our unconscious mind include regular self-reflection and self-assessment, initiated with the aim to understand how the unconscious mind is influencing our conscious experiences. He speaks of what happens in conscious and unconscious interactions, both in healthy and unhealthy ways, and explores how this can influence our emotional health. One essential tool he recommends is building a detailed self-concept. It involves getting a clear idea of oneself that goes beyond a simple list of external attributes or biographical facts, extending to concepts like self-confidence and the capacity to navigate challenges in life. Another tool Dr. Huberman introduces is building a life narrative. This process involves creating a historical record of your life, from birth through the present, divided into specific time increments, which could serve as the anchor for self-perception and serve as a vital tool for self-improvement. In addition, Dr. Huberman brings in the concept of leveraging dream analysis as a means to examine our unconscious mind. He suggests that dreams, particularly those associated with rapid eye movement sleep, give an idea about the unconscious dialogue going on in our minds. By documenting our dreams, he suggests that we could gain insights into these unconscious processes. Dr. Huberman's primary message in this discussion is the paramount importance of understanding one's own self through various methods of self-reflection, all aiding in accessing the powerful unconscious mind. Recognizing and acknowledging the unconscious mind's direct influence on our behavior, feelings, and thoughts is a crucial step towards self-awareness and self-improvement. In this portion of the podcast, Dr. Andrew Huberman explores techniques of accessing and analyzing our unconscious mind. He speaks of the usefulness of recording our dreams upon waking up, as these can offer important insights into our unconscious mind's dialogues. He warns against too literal interpretation of these dreams, however, but to instead look for reoccurring themes and patterns. These themes may reappear in various dreams, giving us insight into our unconscious mind's recurring thoughts and ideas. Huberman also discusses the importance of logging our first waking thoughts, a practice similar to dream journaling, but may be easier for individuals who have a difficult time remembering their dreams. These thoughts can provide a window into your unconscious, shedding light on hidden self-realizations, recurring anxieties, and uncensored thoughts. This practice is likened to psychoanalytic therapy, where a trained professional helps individuals access their unconscious. But here, you are enabling yourself to delve into your unconscious on your own. Another valuable self-exploratory tool recommended by Dr. Huberman is journaling. He distinguishes between two main styles of journaling: free associative journaling and structured journaling. The first style implies a more unstructured, free-flowing method, documenting whatever comes to mind. This process can aid in decluttering the mind, providing a mental clean slate. On the other hand, structured journaling is an intentional, focused process, honing in on specific topics, often related to self, such as personal goals or aspirations. He suggests that journaling-aided self-exploration can contribute to developing a healthier mental state and foster an increased sense of agency and gratitude. It allows individuals to actively engage in their generative drives, the desire to create, build, and contribute to the world in meaningful ways. However, Dr. Huberman mentions that many people might find the act of structured journaling, particularly around personal goals and ambitions, somewhat daunting due to anxiety and other internal frictions. He stresses that documenting these goals and aspirations can serve as a first step towards their actualization. The overarching theme of the segment is the importance of introspection and conscious mental analysis to uncover recurring themes and patterns from one's unconscious mind, fostering improved self-awareness and mental well-being. According to Dr. Andrew Huberman, the act of embracing journaling and consistent introspection, even amidst our anxieties, can serve as the first step in actualization of our goals and aspirations. He refers to earlier discussions with Dr. David Spiegel about the concept that fantasizing about positive outcomes while confronting anxiety or negativity helps to make those positive outcomes more likely to occur. In a bid to foster better mental health recovery and resilience, Huberman proposes the adoption of journaling. The objective not being to journal daily, but to explore oneself through both structured and non-structured journaling, as it permits a deeper understanding of self-concept, which then threads into our everyday actions, positively impacting our mood and mental health. Trauma processing is also an important aspect that Dr. Huberman touches upon. To effectively deal with trauma, he stresses the importance of engaging with a licensed professional. However, certain self-directed protocols, such as allowing for the expression of the magnitude of the trauma and the impact it had on you and others, can aid the processing of trauma. By permitting oneself to verbally process the trauma in a safe space, whether written or spoken, one can alleviate the negative psychological impacts tied to it. This concept is explained further in the book The Invisible Epidemic, written by Dr. Peter Levine, which hosts a myriad of self-directed techniques and professional methods to handle trauma. Huberman also emphasizes that by allowing ourselves to use intense emotional language that matches the magnitude of the trauma we have experienced, we can avoid guilt, shame, and other damaging internalizations that can negatively affect our mental health. However, failing to express or process trauma adequately can lead to it becoming deeply embedded in our unconscious mind, awakening us at odd hours of the night and plaguing our lives through obsessive or compulsive thinking. Dr. Huberman makes it clear that our unconscious mind is not working against us, but is in tandem with our conscious mind. Hence, the tools discussed are aimed at helping improve interaction between our conscious and unconscious mind. To adequately manage one's emotional state, Huberman implies that understanding our different drives, aggressive, pleasure, generative drives, and how to healthily satisfy them is key. Mental health, according to him, is essentially our ability to tap into our generative drive. That is the desire and the appreciation of creating, building, and contributing in meaningful ways. These tools discussed are to be thought of as part of a comprehensive mental health improvement kit. They can be combined and applied based on individual needs. Whether it's bettering physiological functions, enhancing psychological concepts of the self, or building psychological and physiological resilience, these tools can help streamline thought processes, leading towards positive mental health. Check out the full podcast by clicking the link in the description below. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for listening to this podcast summary episode of the Pod Slice.